So let me try to describe a little bit about what the Bursar Office does. So we're the office that are responsible for the billing of all student tuition and fees, and also collecting the payment of the tuition fees, and if there is any refunds that would be applicable, we're the ones that would create that refund for you. An example of that is perhaps maybe you went ahead and got yourself a demand draft to cover your tuition fee charges. You weren't quite sure exactly how much. Maybe it's $100, $200 over, whatever. We would be the ones that would be responsible for refunding that excess to you. And as you can see, our contact information is below. We are the office right below the International Student Center. We're on the second floor of the Student Services Building. You know, there's a phone number, and of course, we do highly encourage students to email us with all their questions. We're happy to answer anything that we possibly can, or direct you to the office that could answer the question more directly. So a little bit about our basics and everything, and so we do get a lot of questions about, well, how much are my tuition fees going to be? Can I get an estimate, and so forth. We do have on our Bursar Office website a page which shows the different guaranteed tuition plans. Now, as you all will be new incoming students for the fall 17 semester, you all will be charged the academic year 17-18 academic year, so 2017-2018. Please note right now that those rates are not out there on the web yet. We're hoping that information will be out on the web no later than the first week of June. Everything is still getting finalized because this is, I'm not sure if y'all know this, but it's a legislative year for the state of Texas, and everything is still getting defined for us. But anyway.
Oh, I was going to ask, Cheryl, if one of the students is a new summer 2017 student, can they find those tuition and fee rates online now?
The answer is absolutely, because if you're starting the summer 2017, then you are going to be on the 2016-2017 guaranteed tuition plan, and that tuition and fee table is out there on the web right this minute. So you would choose that particular link for 2016-2017, and on that particular page is a matrix, and it's broken out by undergraduate student versus graduate student, and then resident student versus non-resident student. And so depending on what your designation is, obviously non-resident student, if you're a graduate student, then you just scroll down to the number of hours you choose to enroll in. One of the things I do want to point out, and we're going to talk about additional fees, but if you happen to be a major in the engineering, computer science school, or in the Jindal School of Management, those two schools do have extra course-related fees that we call supplemental designated tuition, and that information is actually just scrolling a little beyond the matrix. That information is provided right after that particular page. Now, with regard to an estimate, you can certainly email us, but I want to throw out there that in about 2 more weeks, we are going to have the ability for all of our new admitted students to be able to access a page under self-service, the Orion self-service page, where you'll be able to go ahead and pull an estimate for yourself. You will just need to identify the number of semester credit hours you plan to enroll in. Since you would be a new incoming student, you would click on the flag for first-time student, and then an estimate will be provided for you that you could print out. I bring that up because I do understand that many students must provide to their bank the estimate, with the UT Dallas logo and everything, in order to obtain funds, from your home country to bring to the United States to pay for your tuition. And so we will be offering that, like I said, hopefully by June 1st, but we'll have more information on our website at that time. I also want to throw out there that, if you'll notice on the screen, that we do have a guaranteed tuition plan. So if for anybody who is new incoming for the summer, you have 4 consecutive years from the summer, or 12 consecutive terms, if you will, and you will then access that. That will be your guaranteed tuition plan, the 2016-2017 plan. You will always access that to get what your rates are. For those students that are going to be new incoming for fall 17, once we have those rates posted, that will be your guaranteed tuition plan then for the next 4 years. We cannot actually provide you with specific amounts of how much you will owe prior to registration because the number of hours vary. I do not know if you're going to be in Jindal School of Management or Engineering Computer Science. Things can change, and so we prefer to give you just an estimate, but we cannot give you a specific number until after you register for your classes. I did mention that we do have additional fees. I mentioned already the supplemental designated tuition. That is based on your enrollment for specific classes in a specific school. But there are other common fees that you will be charged. For instance, the student health insurance, you will be charged that particular fee every single term. It does vary based on the term. Those rates have not been posted yet, but they will be posted for the fall 17. Those rates have not been posted just yet. But if they're a new incoming for summer 17, those rates are on the web. Obviously, if you're going to be attending orientation, my understanding is it's mandatory, correct?
Correct.
So you will be charged a $50 international student orientation fee.
Mm-hmm.
And as a non-resident alien student, you are going to be charged a $100 international student services fee. That fee will be charged every single term, because the fine folks like Katie that are in the International Student Center are doing a lot of work to help you all in maintaining your residency here in the state of Texas and within the United States. So I think we've got to show them a little bit of love to make sure they can stay here and help you all out. And then you would be assessed a one-time fee for the international document evaluation, because when your application and all your documents are getting evaluated and everything, it can take a little bit more time because sometimes there's translation involved. Now, obviously, once you are registered for classes, that is when we will be able to tell you specifically how much you owe. And so that will be accessible through our Orion student system, but it is also accessible through, later on we'll talk about our payment portal. But we will bill for those tuition fees after you have registered for classes. Another thing I really want to point out, and I know you won't be able to see me too much, but there's a screenshot of it on the PowerPoint, and that's the academic calendar. That is accessible out on the web. I highly, highly, highly encourage you to view that academic calendar every single term. It has very important deadlines for a lot of different offices on there. But there's one page, the part that starts with payment and refund calendar. That page is specifically updated for the Bursar Office perspective. It shows you what day of your payment deadline. It shows you when you could still drop classes and obtain a refund. And then, of course, just what the add and drop refunds are. We're certainly welcome to provide you with more information on that, especially after you enrolled in classes and everything, and after classes have begun. If you're not sure if you would be eligible for a refund if you're able to drop a class, maybe you're enrolled in more than what you need to be enrolled in to maintain your status here, would you get a refund or not? We'll be happy to provide you with that information. My personal opinion is if you're not sure, you should ask, and we're here to help you in all ways that we can.
And you will receive a copy of the academic calendar and the payment and refund calendar during your international student orientation. And so we'll review some of those common dates that are very important. But I must reiterate what Cheryl said. It's highly recommended to download that every semester. And you can write those notes down and those dates down in your planner or put them on your phone so you always know when they're coming up.
So how can you make payment? First and foremost, I want to state that we do have an online system. It's called EasyPay. It is a real-time interface with our student system, Orion. So once you register for classes, and I told you at that point in time, we would be able to charge you your tuition and fees. You would be able to log into the system using your NetID and password, and it will again show you what your tuition fee charges are. Now, the different forms of payment that we have available for you using EasyPay is you can use electronic checks. So once you have once you've reached the U.S. and hopefully you will set up a U.S. bank account, you would be able to use that bank account information to go ahead and make what is known as a web check payment or e-check payment. It will use what is at the bottom of the check a routing number, which is the designation of what bank you're at, and then your account number, which is within that bank, that is your account number with that bank. With those two pieces of information and the dollar amount that you would type in that you wish to pay, we would go ahead and what you're doing is you're authorizing a payment from your bank to the University of Texas at Dallas. I want to state that there are no additional fees for using this particular payment method. I know when you get here, you may hear, oh, if you make a payment online, you're going to be charged. The answer is no, you will not be charged anything additional if you're using the electronic payment method. However, of course, a lot of students will use a credit card. I want you to notice on the PowerPoint, it's American Express, Discover Card, or MasterCard only that we can use for the payment of tuition and that we can accept for the payment of tuition charges. If you choose to make a payment with a credit card under these three methods, you will be charged an additional fee of 1.9% of the amount that you are paying. So please note that, and you'll notice that Visa is not identified as an acceptable form of payment for the payment of tuition. Now, I've got a little helpful hint at the end, but I'm going to go ahead and say it right now that I do recommend that do not get yourself a Visa-branded travel card. We've had a lot of students over the years that would go ahead and get a travel card. I'm not saying that that is a bad idea, but if you're relying on the Visa-branded travel card to pay your tuition, unfortunately that will not be accepted because we do not accept Visa as a payment method for tuition. Now, we also have a couple of different options for students to be able to do a payment plan. And the other one is, and one of them is called the installment plan. Now, this is something that you would sign up for through EasyPay. And this particular plan will allow you to break up the total tuition charges into thirds. And at the time that you set up the installment plan, you would be responsible for paying for 1/3 of that payment right then with an additional cost of $25. It is a flat fee cost per term for that installment plan. So it's not $25 for each payment. It's $25 per semester if you choose to do the installment plan for multiple semesters. And so as long as you pay the other payments on time, the only fee that you would be charged would be the $25. There would be late fees assessed if you didn't pay the other two installments on time, but that information is also on our website. It's $30 for the record. But the dates of when those due dates are also located on the academic calendar.
Yes. And many students choose the installment payment plan simply because it makes it easier to break up their tuition and fees into 3 payments, and maybe they just don't have the total cost at the time of payment due.
That is correct. Then there's other forms of payments. So a lot of students, and again, I realize you won't have a check initially, but once you get to the U.S., again, I highly encourage you to set up a U.S. bank account. When you do that, the bank should help you to go ahead and obtain checks, and you would certainly be welcome to write a check to the Bursar Office for payment of tuition. I will, though, tell you that, again, you have the online option through EasyPay, and so as opposed to waiting in line, you can certainly just do that on the web, through EasyPay. We certainly can accept a cashier's check. As I mentioned earlier, demand draft. I know we have a lot of Indian students that will inquire about a demand draft, and yes, we absolutely accept those. That is not a problem. We can also accept money order or travel checks. We will not charge you any additional fees for accepting payment with those particular methods. We do have a lot of students that will ask us, well, can I send a wire for payment of tuition? And the answer is yes. But you must use our third-party vendor, Flywire, to initiate and make the wire transfer happen. They have a service where you will log into the website. This is on our website as well, and you can see the website is located here on our PowerPoint. But you would log into that website, you would set up a user profile, determine the amount that you would want to pay, and then it would be you would have to fund that wire, and then it'll be sent through our third party to us. There's a great benefit to use this particular service because they do obtain all the information that we will need in order to post your wire to your student account. Years ago, we did allow students to have our banking information in order to send the wires directly to our bank, but unfortunately, in many instances, there was not enough information associated with that wire on the bank that we didn't know whose money it was. And so it would take a few weeks, if not a month or so, to determine whose money that actually belonged to. And that created problems for our students. And so using the Flywire service allows us to know exactly whose money that is and get that posted. As you'll see there, there are no additional fees charged to you for using the Flywire international wire payment method. And my understanding through them is that they do try very hard to offer you a very good price for those wire amounts. I mentioned to you earlier that there's a couple of different payment plan methods. The short-term loan is our second method. And this is the one that I would suggest to students that if they are having any problem receiving money from their home country, obtaining money from their home country, it's going to be delayed for whatever reason, that you would sign up for the short-term loan. The benefit of this particular payment plan is it doesn't require any payment up front for tuition and fees. It is going to charge you 1.25% of the balance, the total balance that would be loaned out. Now, it is something that is due within 60 days. You'll see 60 days from census days, so that payment is due before the end of the term. But again, what is the benefit of this is it will protect your classes. And what I mean by that is payment of tuition and fees is, of course, mandatory. We have to stay here in business in order to educate. And the thing is that we have to have all the payment, by our payment deadlines, with the exception if we have these payment plans in effect. And so we do drop students for non-payment if they have not paid in full, or secondly, they have not set up a payment plan with the Bursar office. And so I just wanted to throw that out there, that this is one of the benefits. This particular payment plan is a great benefit if you don't have the money up front. I will also say that we do send out a lot of communication, emails, and we do send out phone calls as reminders of the payment deadline, just to make sure that you are aware of it. So one of the things I like to tell people is if anything, we're going to harass you to the point of just so you know for sure that your payment deadline is coming up. I do want to make one more point here on this, and that is that if you do choose to do the short-term loan, the insurance charge is not encompassed within that. The insurance charge will always be due by the census day payment deadline that is posted on the academic calendar. And for y'all's purposes, if you're going to be a new incoming student for the fall 17 term, that will be September 5th. And again, that information is listed on the academic calendar.
Yes, that's a good point. If you see below, it only covers your tuition and course-related fees. You may have other fees, such as the International Student Services fee, your International Student Orientation, health insurance, like Cheryl mentioned. You still need to pay those by the due date.
Yes, please. Now, I know that a lot of our students are getting scholarships and everything, and so we get this question a lot as well, and so I wanted to go ahead and provide you with this information now. If you have been lucky enough to be awarded a scholarship, maybe through the Jindal School of Management or whatever, but a university scholarship, so coming from UT Dallas, and that scholarship exceeds $1,000, number one, all those scholarships are going to be credited onto your student account. So the money is not going to be given to you to turn around and pay UTD. It's going to become posted onto your student account to reduce your tuition balance. But if your scholarship exceeds $1,000 or more, there is a great benefit to you. What it will do is it provides you with what is known as a competitive scholarship, and what that means is that since you had to compete for a university scholarship and it is over $1,000, that actually qualifies you to be charged what would be the net of the resident tuition rate. And so you will still be charged as a non-resident student. However, you're going to have an additional credit on your student financial account that is the difference between the resident and non-resident rate. So therefore, you will, in essence, be charged the resident tuition. I also want to share with you that within Orion, we have what are known as holds, okay? And many times the students think, oh, wait a minute, a hold is a bad thing. Well, in many instances, it is going to prevent you from doing something, possibly registration or later on getting your transcripts. However, there are positive holds. And one of the things that we do to assist our students is if you are one of those students that is getting a scholarship, we automatically give those students an extended payment deadline. And I'll say like financial aid recipient, under the hold section of the Student Center in Orion, it'll say extended payment deadline census. Please note that is not a bad thing. You do not need to email the Bursar office or call the Bursar office saying, please remove this hold. No, no, no. What that particular hold is doing is it is holding your registration. It is letting the Bursar office know that you've got an extended payment deadline. And so therefore you would not be dropped for non-payment at one of our earlier payment deadlines. So please understand that is actually a good thing. So if you see that on your student account in your Orion Self-Service portal, give yourself a thumbs up. That's all good.
Absolutely.
Now, again, just a couple of helpful tips here at the end. I highly discourage you from obtaining a whole lot of cash to pay for your tuition. We have students that will come to our window and they will have $15,000 or more in cash to pay their tuition. Ladies and gentlemen, that is just not safe. It makes me scared for you. It absolutely makes me scared for you. And so I totally discourage you from making a point of getting cash in order to pay your tuition. Remember earlier I mentioned that if you're getting cash, more than likely you're going to a bank. Or you've set up a banking account, and then you've withdrawn this money from your bank account in order to bring this cash. Remember, you can use the electronic check functionality. You can pay with a check, and guess what? Nobody can just steal a check from you. They can take it, but it's not going to be money out of your pocket. They steal your cash, that's gone. There's nothing we can do. But if somebody steals a check, that can certainly be voided. You do a stop pay. No problem. No problem.
Absolutely.
But again, there's no fee if you do the web check. So please, please, please do not bring any cash. If it's a small little payment, like you had to order a transcript or something like that, something $10, under $100, that's a different story. But please do not bring thousands of dollars in cash. Because another thing is that it truly does hold up in the line and because other students, because it takes a long time for us to count that to ensure that it is truly the correct dollar amount.
And I want to mention, so Cheryl mentioned don't pay your tuition and fees with cash, but a lot of other places do not accept cash. So if you're going to be renting an apartment, you usually cannot pay your rent or pay your deposit in cash. Same with for utilities such as gas, electricity, internet service, you won't be able to pay those with cash. So just think about that when you're trying to make your payments and thinking about your budget and setting that up.
And I mentioned this earlier today, but just remember, Visa branded travel cards are not accepted for the payment of tuition, so please do not make a point of getting those if the goal is to pay for tuition, because they will not be accepted. And again, if you are going to do a demand draft, again, 100% accepted, and that's not a problem. We have students ask, well, who should I make it out to? Please have it made out to UT Dallas. You do not need to spell the University of Texas Dallas. UT Dallas is more than fine. And as I said earlier, you can certainly make it up for a little bit more. Sometimes students will do that just to, a little bit of something left over, for little immediate expenses. It cannot be for thousands of dollars more. So if your tuition, if you're anticipating your tuition to be $15,000, you cannot expect to do a $25,000 demand draft. That would not be accepted. But so demand drafts are no problem. And if you do the Flywire wire payment, again, that is perfectly acceptable. We highly encourage you to do so. But please allow a week from the time frame that you initiate that wire payment and get it funded before you actually will see it posted onto your student account. It takes a little bit of time for it to be authorized for the Flywire folks to get that information to us and for us to get that posted. I don't want anything bad to happen to you, i.e. maybe lose your classes because that payment wasn't posted to your student account in time. So please don't wait till last minute. Allow yourself 1 week for sure for that payment to get posted to your student account.
Absolutely. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some additional expenses, and then I'll allow our Indian Student Association to join us, so they'll be logging in from a different computer. But some things you want to think about in your budget would be housing. So if you're interested in on-campus housing, you can take a look at the UT Dallas housing webpage, and I've posted it below, and off-campus housing. So we have some recommendations about off-campus housing, some ways you can find that on our website. But think about how you're going to make those payments, how you're going to put down your deposit. And something I want to note is that you may have to pay a higher deposit if you don't have a Social Security number. And so as an incoming international student, you probably don't have a Social Security number, and most apartment complexes and other services that you are trying to acquire probably ask for that. If you let them know, you can make arrangements usually to pay a little higher deposit, show additional identification, and things like that. So that's something important for you to know. Also, think about transportation. So some of you want to get a car, some of you don't have a car, that's fine. Our Comet Cruiser 883 is completely free for all students to use. Additionally, you can also use the DART, which is the Dallas Area Rapid Transit Train System, for free once you register for classes. Like I mentioned, if you want to get a car, you have to think about the cost of the car and how much you're going to pay for gas so you can fuel your car and get around. You'll also need car insurance. You'll need to purchase a parking pass for the university. So these are all things that would add to your budget. And some things that a lot of students don't realize cost so much are below. So some things that you need to purchase are textbooks. And so you'll have to have books and other supplies for all your classes. Those will add on to how much you need to pay, along with food, toiletries, housing items, so furniture and kitchen supplies, all those types of things that you need to purchase in order to set up your housing. And consider utilities. I talked about this a little bit with deposits, but you'll need to put or have electricity if you're living off campus, internet, cell phone service. I know a lot of people try to get an American cell phone. And so those are just things to factor in when you're thinking about how much you're going to be spending here at the university. Cheryl also mentioned getting a U.S. bank account. So I know that can be overwhelming to a lot of students. I listed some popular banks here in the United States, and so you can take a look and see which one might work best for you. I put their websites below. So we have Chase Bank, Bank of America, Citibank, Wells Fargo, U.S. Bank. Those are some of the largest and most popular banks in the United States, but there are other banking institutions, and so you can research some others. And just to know, Wells Fargo does have an ATM, an automated teller machine, on campus, and so if you choose to go with Wells Fargo, you'll be able to use the ATM on campus to withdraw cash. Some things to think about when you're setting up a bank account. You can check to see if there's a bank which is in your network or who might have an agreement with your bank in your home country, that usually makes it easier for students to obtain cash, for your family or other people to provide money for you if you need it. And so many students have mentioned to us that that was very helpful for them when coming to UT Dallas. Also, check the requirements for opening a bank account. I mentioned that if you don't have a Social Security number, it makes it more paperwork or more money to put deposits down, but also banks typically require a Social Security number. There are banks who will absolutely bank with you, and you can talk to current students about what banks they chose to use, but you might have additional paperwork or identification to provide if you don't have that number.